Great to be working with you again. There's a lot of energy on here, and it's like a festival atmosphere.
Oh, it's great. It's so fun. And no matter whether it's raining or sunshine out, the riders are here. They want to compete in the diverse variety of events that are held, and they just want to have a good time, so they're looking forward to it.
And they're having fun. Let's start off first with the field for the women's downhill event. It seems like it's dominated by the top Americans, although there are some good foreigners here as well.
Yeah, there's really the cream of the crop of the American women are here. People like Lee Donovan, who's a past world champion and multiple national champion. We've also got Sherry Elliott, herself a national champion, and the current bronze medalist at the World Championships last year in Canada. She's on the roster. Marla Streb, little hot shot here also. And internationally, we've got people like Katrina Miller from Australia. She does incredible things in the downhill and the dual slalom. We've also got Sari Jorgensen. She's representing Switzerland, and she won the gold medal in the World Championships race last year in Mont Saint Anne, Canada. She was a junior then. She's an elite racer now. She's ready to put the hurt on those big girls.
We happened to bump into her after her practice run. She said the course is a little bit muddy. It's actually drizzling right now. So for more on the course, let me introduce the third member of our announcing team, Peter Graves, who happened to be on the course a little bit earlier.
It's the opening of the mountain bike season here in California, and all of us are super excited to be here. You know, this is the first time the Sea Otter has featured a downhill race, so everybody thinks that this new course is really rad. You know, what we're going to see here is a 3/4 of a mile course. The riders, maybe the pros, will do it in under 2 minutes. It doesn't have the huge terrain of the Colorado mountains, but what it does have here is absolutely technical kind of stuff. The riders are going to go off berms and tabletops. There's some tricky turns. This course is like a giant pinball machine. Let me take you for a ride. Right out of the top, it's building up speed fairly flat. It's hammer, 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 then set up for this big right-hand turn. There's a berm here if the riders need it, but they're probably going to be going tight around that turn to set up for the next set of rollers. There's a lot of speed coming into this section of the course. They hit a whole bunch of S-turns. This is the first one. Coming up here, a big bank turn. They're going to go high and to the inside of this to try to get the speed to keep cruising through these turns. This section, though, is going to be won more with finesse than with speed. Coming up to this next section of turns, I feel like I'm in a bobsled run in Lake Placid. These guys are going to be really getting a lot of speed through here, getting set up on a straight line to handle these triple section of jumps. A couple of them are tabletops. They're going to try to cruise right over these things and get up a lot of speed. Again, this favors the BMX riders to ride smooth. As we come down to the midway section of the course, this is where the advantage may end for the pure BMX racer. The end of the man-made obstacles. Behind me, pure, classic downhill mountain bike racing on great soil. This is the steepest, gnarliest portion of the track, and it could produce some interesting surprises. They come off the grass. They're carrying a lot of speed. They'll get some big air. Then they hit the soft, loamy soil here, littered with rocks. It's amazing. Just when you thought it was safe and you were down, within eyeshot of the finish line behind me, there is a terrifying jump, a tabletop between the trunk of a tree, 2 branches going out. Now, these guys are going to be like they're launched out of a rocket ship getting big air. They've got branches to contend with and a huge tree trunk. But for the more conservative among us, they can go around taking an easier route that will safely get them to the finish. I'll tell you, when they get down there, they're going to be happy. It's been some wild ride.
That it has. Thank you very much, Peter. Great job. We're now ready for our first female rider, Katrina Miller, the 23-year-old from Australia, the 98 Norba dual slalom champion.
Look at the difficulty she's had coming out of the starting gate there. It's very slippery. This mud is slick and sticky. Hardest type of thing to ride and really tough to get your momentum up. And these guys need to be sprinting literally around every corner over every single bump. So very big use of the upper body, lots of finesse needed. As Peter mentioned, the top of this course is big in a dual slalom type style. Once they get lower towards the bottom, a lot more downhill technique involved. You can see her going right over, nicely over those double jumps. Keeping up her speed here, coming around that berm is very important.
You know, it's amazing Katrina's even here. She tore her ligaments in her right ankle as we see her split time, and her doctor told her not even to show up, but here she is.
Yeah, sometimes you just can't hold these people down. Great competitive spirit here. Look at her go. Now, she told me she was going to ride her dual slalom bike, which has less travel than the downhill bike she typically uses. Front and rear shocks on all these bikes that the riders are using for places like that where they need lots of cushioning coming over those big jumps.
I heard some of the riders call that jump the season ender, and you wouldn't want that here at the start of the season. And Katrina Miller crosses the finish line. Her time, 2:32.31, so that is the time to beat. We're going to take a break. When we come back, the big names of the sport. And we are covering the women's downhill, the first time they've ever had a downhill competition here at the Otter Classic. Up next, Lee Donovan, the 27-year-old from California, third in the 97 World Cup downhill standings.
Lee has such an impressive resume. She's been a world champion, multiple national champion in the U.S., and she's got such great style. Very smooth, has a BMX background. This girl knows she needs to be pedaling a lot up top here. A little bit tentative around that corner, actually taking her foot out with the slippery conditions. Look at the way she's finessing that bike and really getting on the pedals after those double jumps. She knows you got to rev it up, keep the cadence rolling. Sounds like she's actually having a great time out there. Some of those big jumps, you're really getting some air. Need to be concentrating, though. Lots of focus going on, especially in these conditions.
Now back at the top, this is Marla Streb. Starting off, the riders are being paced at 30-second intervals. And for Marla Streb, we know that she is riding cross-country tires here in this race, so kind of a strategic move on her part.
My philosophy for today is more for the pedaling sections. Because of the mud, it's going to bog us down quite a bit, and it really slows down the speeds. And there are 2 slight uphills on this course, and I think you can make up more time with light equipment and good legs.
Now back to Lee Donovan as she is catching up with the rider who started 30 seconds ahead of her, so we know she's on form for a good run.
She is looking pretty well focused here, keeping those upper body arm muscles relaxed as she's coasting down. In a tricky section here, though. Oops, she's getting a little bit off on the grass, not following quite the perfect line.
Whoa, I'll say. Where'd she go?
That's a bummer of a move for Lee here. She was finding herself with a little too much speed.
Get her again, go, go, go.
Probably put on the brakes a little too much, and definitely very unfortunate maneuver here. She's going on an uphill, so she's going to lose extra time, having to push her bike up that hill.
And now look at this. Look who is right behind Lee Donovan. That's Marla Streb gaining ground. You see Katrina Miller's split time, and look at Marla Streb. Wow, almost 15 seconds faster.
Well, Marla was attacking that hill. She saw Lee Donovan ahead of her. That's her 32nd person. She knows she's just within seconds of passing her to the finish.
Looks like those cross-country tires are panning out for Marla Streb. And look at this. She kind of pushes Lee out of the way.
Nice move by Marla. That requires some guts to do that. She forced Lee to take the slower line. She, meanwhile, took the fast line through the tree.
So Marla Streb clears the season ender and cruises into the finish line. Miller's time to beat. Wow, obliterated by Marla Streb. And here comes Lee Donovan, the irrepressible Donovan.
Just kidding, I really suck.
Well, we know she's going to make the best of the situation, but there's our current leader, Marla Streb, at just over 2:15. Next up, Sari Jorgensen, the young rider from Switzerland, the junior downhill world champion.
Well, we saw Sari do some wonderful things at Mont Saint Anne, the World Championships. Now she's with the big girls. No longer a junior. She's an elite rider. And look at her, so confident. Looks very smooth. She's on one of John Tomac's bikes there.
I talked to her yesterday, and she was kidding around that she was going to bring a raincoat for this event, anticipating the muddy, rainy conditions. But on a more serious note, Susan, one of her goals is to be top 10 in the downhill this year, and she needs to have a good run today to get off to a good start.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that she will be. She's already in World Cup competition, proven herself against these top women. Interesting to note, most of the gals out here today are using flat pedals with just regular non-mountain biking type shoes so they can get in and out around those corners. You see they're putting their feet in and out of the pedals a lot due to the conditions. When it's this slippery out, you don't want to fool around with mud getting stuck in your pedals.
And she's using a dual slalom bike as well, not her downhill bike.
Yeah, for this course, you can see that trail there, it's pretty smooth, albeit it's very slippery, but it's smooth enough so they don't need that front and rear travel that they typically see in the more rocky technical courses.
Here you see the split time, and well, Jorgensen's got about 11 seconds to make up if she's going to catch Streb.
That's a big gap in such a short downhill. She's going to have a tough time making that up in the last part of the course, especially if she doesn't get on her pedals quick enough. You see there, she wasn't quite quick enough with that cadence, getting on top of those gears to roll over those bumps.
Here she's approaching the season ender. Everyone kind of collectively held breath and then, cheers and sighs of relief.
Yes, that's a very difficult spot to negotiate, but these gals seem to be doing it without any problem.
So Sari approaching the finish line, her time 2:26.51. So Marla Streb's time is still very safe. And next up, Tara Yanis, the 22-year-old from California, the 98 dual slalom world champion.
Well, Tara's talented when it comes to turns and curves, as proven by her dual slalom championship. She's young, though, doesn't have quite the experience of some of the other women out here, especially the U.S. gals. But she's got a great sponsorship with Specialized. They have a lot of support for her. She's learning the ropes. Looking good coming through this section here. She's getting on top of those gears. That's what I was talking about. See how she picks it right up, gets a real fast cadence in between those sections, gains speed with each of those movements.
I know you and Davis had a chance to ride this course yesterday. I got to walk with Tara as she took a look at this course, and she said one thing to me, BMX course. This is a BMX course.
Yes, I think that's the idea most of the riders have come into with this course. Now look at Tara. She's struggling up that hill. When we saw Marla go up that hill, she had much more speed, and that translates into saved time in the overall.
Yeah, you could see it in her split time. Tara was back about 6 seconds.
Really using the upper body a lot here, pulling on those handlebars, especially over those little bumps, those double jumps.
Here comes the season ender. No problem.
Nice job there.
You can see where all the cameras have congregated. And Tara Yanis crosses the finish line, 7 seconds back of Marla Streb's time. And now we've got the missile, Missy Giovi from Durango, Colorado. She's got numerous awards next to her name.
Oh, she does. She's the accolade queen, actually, although she hasn't quite seen the form that she saw a few years back. Still, she's probably the best-known downhiller in the world on the women's circuit, and she's still definitely one to be feared. She's got a very aggressive style all the time, very much out of the saddle, really using her upper body. Seems a little bit tentative on those double jumps, though.
What is it going to take for some of these riders to catch up to Marla Streb? Seems like nobody has even approached her.
Well, I think Marla was really right. You definitely need the legs. Coming up and down from those jumps requires some good stamina. Need to have done some speed work in the off-season here so that you have the cardiovascular capability to get up and down from that saddle and really push over those hills. Look at how low Missy's seated there. In these pedaling sections, that's not very advantageous when you're down that low on your bike. It's when you hit the steeps that you need your saddle to be that low to keep your center of gravity back on the bike.
Here's the split time, and she's over 11 seconds back. A lot of time to make up.
Yeah, not quite in the right gear there. She needs to be much peppier coming through sections like that. She loses a second or two each time she comes over some of those jumps and those bumps.
Here comes Missy over the season ender. Oh!
Ooh, nice save. Nice save by Missy there. That could have been a bad fall, but she kept it rolling, kept it forward, just had a foot come out of the pedal.
Probably the last rider who can make a serious challenge to Marla Streb, and she doesn't do it. Still a respectable time, but Marla Streb wins the inaugural women's downhill here at the Sea Otter Classic. Yanis second, followed by Jorgensen and Giovi, and Peter Graves is with Marla Streb.
All right, thanks very much. I'm standing here with a very happy woman, Marla Streb here, who can barely contain herself.
Thank you.
Marla, the big story today has to be the conditions, right?
Yes, boy, it changed everybody's mind today. Everyone was running around switching tires and switching gear. You know, it really requires a completely different bike setup and a different mindset. Some people almost give up when it starts raining because they know that they're not mud riders. But you have to practice in the mud and you have to learn how to just deal with it. It's a lot more difficult, more technical. I opted to run cross-country tires today. I think I was the only woman to do that, and that turned out to be the right strategy.
Well, it certainly did pay off, but coming up, we've got dual slalom excitement and the first ever men's downhill.
Love.